In Longhorn, a two-player game designed by Bruno Cathala and published by Blue Orange Games, players compete as outlaws looking to make their fortune by stealing cattle and acquiring gold nuggets while avoiding getting arrested by the sheriff if he's in town. The game takes about 15 to 20 minutes. To win the game, a player must ensure that his or her opponent is arrested by the sheriff or have built the largest fortune in cattle and gold at the end of the game. To set up the game, a board is created by randomly placing the 9 location tiles into a 3x3 grid. Each tile indicates how many cattle will start on that tile at the beginning of the game and has a space for the action token. So for example, over here in Red River Valley, 4 cattle will start on this tile and this is where the action token will be placed. In Nugget Hill over here, 6 cattle will start on the tile at the beginning of the game. And next door in Tulsa, just 2 cattle start. The game comes with 19 action tokens, and 9 of these will be drawn at random and put on the board for each game. These action tokens have various different benefits and some of them have drawbacks. And so for example, these are the gold nugget tiles and these range in value from 500 all the way down to 200. So there's one for 400 there. This is the epidemic tile. The player that picks this up chooses a colour of cattle and takes all remaining cattle of that colour off the board, essentially making that colour worth 0 at the end of the game. The ambush token allows a player to steal a gold nugget or 2 cattle of the same colour from his or her opponent. The Snakehole Token allows the player that picks it up to immediately take a second turn. The branding token allows a player to choose an adjacent tile and take all cattle of the same colour as the cattle that they just picked up. So for example, if I picked up 2 black to clear this tile and I picked up this, I could choose any of these 4 orthogonally adjacent tiles and take the black cattle from that tile. The Rattlesnake Token basically will cause panic in your herd, requiring you to return 1 cattle of each colour you have in your herd back to the game board, and these will be placed on tiles that again are adjacent to the tile on which you pick the token up. And the Sheriff Action Token is 1 token you definitely don't want to be picking up, because the player that is forced to pick this up immediately loses the game because they've been arrested by the sheriff. As I said, the action tokens are allocated at random. The only exception to this is the Sheriff Token, and if this is picked as one of the 9, it must start the game on the Nugget Hill tile. So we'll do that now. Placing out the 9 tokens. Once the tokens have been placed on the board, the cattle are then randomly allocated. There are 36 cattle in the game, 9 of each colour. And again, these will be allocated according to the number on each tile. So 4 on this tile, 5 here, 4 here, 4 here, and the final 4 over here on Red River Valley. Once this has been done, the players decide between them who will play Eagle Perkins and who will play Jesse Artist Bird. They then take the movement token, flip the token to decide, to decide who will start. In this case, it'll be Eagle Perkins to start the game. This means Jesse gets to decide which of the tiles Eagle will start on. It must be one of the 5 tiles that start with 4 cattle. So, Jesse decides that Eagle should start the game over here. And on his turn, a player must do 2 things. First, they must steal some cattle. To do this, they select a cattle of 1 colour on the tile on which they're located, and they take all of that colour of cattle into their herd. So here Jesse decides to take these 2 green cattle and put them into his herd. Next, Jesse needs to move. And Jesse will move the number of spaces that is equal to the number of cattle he just picked up. So in this case, 2. Movement can be up and down or left or right, and there can be no backtracking. So for example, 1, 2 would not be a legal move. So Jesse decides to move to Blackstone Corral up here, 1, 2. He flips over the token to indicate, sorry, it's Jesse's turn now. So Jesse again must choose a colour of cattle to put into his herd. He chooses orange, so again he picked up 2 cattle and he must move 2 steps. 1, 2. Now it's Eagle's turn again. Eagle decides that he'll take this 1 green cattle and place it up here. So he only now needs to move 1 step. He moves here and turns the token over, and it's now Jesse's turn again. Jesse takes this white cattle and puts it into his herd, and now he can only move 1 step too. So he decides to come down here to Kid Copper's ranch, turns the token over, it's Eagle's turn. Eagle takes 1, moves 1 step, turns the token over, and now Jesse takes the final cattle from Tulsa and puts it into his herd. When a player completely clears a tile of cattle or a location of cattle on his turn, he gets to take the action token. So in this case, Jesse gets to take the branding token, and this allows him to steal all the black cattle from one of the orthogonally adjacent tiles that he's now on. So he looks around and thinks, oh, I'll take them from here because I'll get 2 black cattle. And play continues like this until the game ends, and this can happen in one of 3 ways. The first way is if the sheriff token is in the game, and if a player is forced to take the sheriff token, he will immediately forfeit the game. So for example, if we imagine that the game is now set up like this. Jesse has just taken his final cattle from Tulsa. He moves 1 step to here, turns the token over, and it's Eagle's turn. As there's only 1 cattle left on Nugget Hill, Eagle is forced to take this one, and is also forced, therefore, to pick up the sheriff token. And now he's been arrested by the sheriff and immediately loses the game, and Jesse is the winner. There are 2 other ways that the game can end. The first way is if one player manages to capture all 9 cattle of 1 colour and place them into their herd. If this should happen, that player will immediately win the game and the game will end. The third way, which is the most likely way that the game will end, particularly if the sheriff token is not in the game, is if there are no more legal moves on the board. So for example, in this case, assuming that Eagle hadn't been arrested by the sheriff, that he'd only taken 1 cattle from this square, he'd now have to move 1 tile, either to his left or up or down. Unfortunately, there are no cattle left on any of these tiles, which means there are no more legal moves left in the game. The game then ends and the players decide who is the winner by tallying up the value of their herds and gold nuggets. The way this is achieved is that for each colour, the players will look to see how many cattle are left on the board, and each cattle that they have in their herd of that colour will be worth that value. For example, for green cattle, there are currently 2 green cattle left on the board, which means each of the green cattle are worth $200. So in this case, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, $1,200 for the green cattle. For the white cattle, there are 4 white cattle left on the board, so $400. So this one will be $400, and so on. The other player will do the same thing. The total value of cattle will be added to the value of the gold nuggets they have in their possession, and whoever has the highest dollar value is the winner of Longhorn.